Let's turn now to Arseniy Yatsenyuk, who's former Prime Minister of Ukraine, who's joining us from Lviv. Good evening to you, Arseniy.
Good evening, Kathy. Good evening.
Thank you very much for joining us here on Times Radio. We had you in the studio very recently, but good to have you down the line. You heard there the analysis from America about the lowered expectations for this meeting between your president and President Trump. Are you fearful that this is going to end up being another disappointment?
You know, fear is the worst remedy. So this is a no way and no starter for any kind of talks or if you want to get a result. I want to focus on the message from Karamurza. So he said that President
That's
Trump...
That's the Russian dissident, Vladimir Karamurza, who I spoke to earlier on the program, yeah.
So we met each other a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And he was actually, there were a number of assassination plots against him. And he said that Putin and Trump, that they are similar. You know, I strongly disagree with this kind of assessment. Putin is a KGB operative. And his mindset is completely different, rather the mindset of a real estate developer, President Trump, and those who stick to bargains and commercial deals. And now he's the president of the United States. So it's just a wrong assessment. And the reason why I'm raising this issue, because we have to realize what's happening right now. So let me provide you my assessment, what has happened in the nearest few days ago. So President Trump has acknowledged that Putin played him. He has made the U-turn and he promised to deliver Tomahawks to Ukraine. And even more, his Secretary of War and his Secretary of Treasury and the entire political establishment made an about-face in terms of Russia. The rhetoric and the verbal stance was much stronger, and it was clearly in the support of Ukraine. Putin has realized that he is under threat. And what Putin is doing, he is applying absolutely the same pattern that he did before the anchorage. Completely the same. So,
do you think he's miscalculated it, and actually this could end badly for Putin? Zelensky could end up getting the Tomahawks, and this could be a pivotal turning point.
You're absolutely right. You know, in case if President Trump decides to make a decisive action. So right now it's all in the hands of the president.
Yeah, but what if
the best option right now is to provide Tomahawks to Ukraine, and then to hold negotiations or any kind of talks with this suspected war criminal. Without this kind of leverage, this would be a disaster.
Okay, so just to pin you down, if Zelensky comes out of that meeting without getting a guarantee of the Tomahawks, is it a failure?
That's definitely not a success. Okay, let me put it this way.
Okay.
Far from that.
Okay.
And this is not the failure of Zelensky. I want to be very clear. This would be the failure of the White House to deliver on the promise, and not only to deliver, but to turn the tables and actually really to show to Putin that the White House is really serious in having a fair and just peace in Ukraine. And that President Trump is really serious in getting the real Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, there's quite a test there, and we'll have an inkling of that in an hour's time as to what the outcome is. But say the Tomahawks, it's a vague promise, it's not nailed down. What is your thought then about how this meeting with Putin might go, how Zelensky could possibly, get the upper hand in that meeting?
You mean the meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky?
To be specific, there's this talk about the fact that, Trump could organise some kind of trilateral involving Putin.
You mean this so-called trilateral meeting?
Yes, exactly. I mean, do you think that Putin will never agree to that, for starters?
So, let me go back to the square one. So he wants to repeat another anchorage, but in Budapest. The reason why he has chosen Budapest, because you remember this notorious Budapest Memorandum when Ukraine replenished, when Ukraine actually decommissioned the third biggest nuclear arsenal in the world, and there was signed a so-called Budapest Memorandum, and the co-signatories were Russia, the United States, United Kingdom, and France, and even China somehow co-sponsored this memorandum, and everyone guaranteed territorial integrity and sovereignty to Ukraine. In the end, Russia, that was a co-signatory to that memorandum, invaded Ukraine. So that's the first reason why he deliberately has chosen Budapest. The second reason is that Budapest withdrew themselves from the ICC, International Criminal Court.
Yeah.
And they already promised that Putin won't be arrested, he won't be handcuffed in Budapest. The third reason, because Orbán is a very close friend to Putin, and he wants to present himself as a very close friend to Trump. So it's a kind of Trojan horse everywhere,
right.
Except Moscow.
Can I just pause you on the Budapest significance there? I mean, Vladimir Karamazov, the Russian dissident we were speaking to earlier, pointed out that in order to get to Budapest, Putin has got to fly over Europe. He's got to fly over EU airspace. I mean, should the plane be forced to land and Putin arrested for war crimes, do you think?
Look, I am not sure that we really have those who can force this airplane to land and those who can handcuff Putin. And the very reason is very clear. Because Putin is the so-called president of the country with the biggest arsenal of nukes, period. So we have to be realistic. And the European Commission already issued a statement that it's up to the European member states to decide whether they provide a leeway or free access for Putin's aircraft to Budapest or no. But we are jumping into really not important details.
Right. So just final point on how you expect this meeting to go and whether anything can be salvaged from it to Ukraine's advantage.
What is needed for Ukraine? For Ukraine is needed durable and just peace, and as a first stage, unconditional ceasefire. Whether President Trump is ready to deliver this, I hope that he wants to deliver. But whether he has tools, yes, he has these tools. But whether he is ready to exert the pressure on Russia, this is the biggest question mark I have. Right. In terms of any kind of trilateral meetings, I don't care about any kind of meetings. We already had the meeting in Anchorage. So what's in the end?
Yeah,
it is about the deliverables, and the meeting is just a kind of show that wraps up complicated work of negotiating teams and of Ukrainian military, how to bring Ukraine to peace.
Arseniy Yatsenyuk, former Prime Minister of Ukraine, thank you very much for joining us.